All right, guys, here's a quick tutorial on just working with site components within your site plan. We've started to do quite a bit with our lot, or hopefully you're experimenting with some different ways to arrange features and play around with different elevations of ground, especially if you're dealing with major elevation changes. Uh, We know how to now split our topography into different sections like I've done here with this. In our previous example, we know how to align and change and edit the points of these surfaces by adjusting the elevations of these individual points. And you can add more points and make it even more of a, topographical change, I guess I should say. We've created sub-regions. So if you're taking a topo surface and creating a region basically within another, or surface within a topo surface, then what you're doing is creating a sub-region, and you can give those things different materials as well. So another place I might add one would be in here, as you know, I mentioned before, somewhere in here would be a good place to have like a gardening, bushes, things like that in front of the house. That way it's not just a weird random, grassy area right here. Usually features like that help make a place look more inviting, and also just, nature. These things are good for property value, for aesthetics, and it's a good way to also have to keep from watering and having to mow lawn in some cases. Better option is to fill it with plants, trees, that kind of thing. So let's move on from that. We're going to get into working with site components, which you can see right here in the Masking and Site tab. You can click on that, and for me at least, automatically the trees pop up. And you'll notice one thing: when you place a tree, be mindful of what kind of view you're giving people inside, looking out, as well as people looking, from the outside looking towards your structure. Are you obstructing any major points? Is it still, pleasing to look at from, does it have curbside appeal? That's something that you want to think about. Maybe it would be better if this was off place just a little bit here, and that way you can see a little bit more of front of the house. Although this is not terribly bad either. Instead of being faced with just, if you want more privacy between your house and the street, that's something to think about. Also gives, people like to look from the house to something natural, not a road. And so that's something to consider. So what I want you to think about is placement of these components and how you're going to guide people with your with these massing components that you're going to add in: trees, bushes, plants. Working with how are you going to subdivide your lot to kind of guide people. What you don't want to have is just rails and rails and rails guiding people in and out of your structure, right? Natural things, paths like this, natural borders, things like that, nature planners, things like that, that kind of guide people up and down sidewalks or through a park area, rather than having just a concrete jungle and people just meandering all over the place. You kind of have to give people order sometimes, otherwise it ends up being a big mess. So that's part of being a smart landscape designer, is thinking about flow, traffic flow. And so you've done bubble diagrams of your site already. And so I want you to take that into consideration. You have traffic flow, people coming in, people coming out. What can you do, if anything at all, that has a more natural look to it than just concrete barriers and rails? Okay. And so look at these sites, look at these different materials. So if I go to site components, trees show up here. So you have a lot of different trees. You notice I'm working in visual style that I think this is consistent colors. or shaded would even be good as well. But realistic is good, but you're going to notice as you start adding more and more of these things in there, your computer is going to start to slow down. The fan's going to kick on, and it's going to think you're really overworking it. So I keep it simple with this. And if I want to get a little better idea of what it looks like, then I'll switch it over to realistic for just to get a little glimpse of it. So just some things to think about. Now, when I place this tree, even though I have an elevation change here, notice that it places it on the ground. If I go back here, say I want one over here on this side, it still places it on the ground. So if I go check here on this tree, elevation is at 5 feet. This one, elevation is at 0. So it's fairly smart in knowing that I don't have to go over here and place it and then raise it up 5 feet so it's on the ground and make it look like it's up and not just cut off. So that's a good thing about these massing and site components, is that they take into consideration the topo surface that you're dealing with. Okay, so when I click on that, other things that you can be looking at, if you go in the load family, you can go into site, and you'll see accessories, bike stands, flagpoles, benches. You'll see logistics if you're dealing with scaffolding. I don't know that anyone's really dealing with these, but you never know. A truck. Parking. I know some people have parking lots planned for theirs, and there's ways that you can also have some smart ideas for parking islands for people, guiding traffic as far as cars too, would be important. Utilities, cable connections, these things. Fire hydrants wouldn't be a bad thing to have. Manholes kind of give a little bit more realistic view of what things look like. These are water connection, things that would be like on the outside of buildings. So that is in sight. There is also Entourage, might be interesting place to look at to kind of fill in some space. You have people, guys, girls, computers. Yeah, you want to show people like sitting out in the park, working or something, then that's cool. You can do that. Vans, that's weird. Creepy van in your picture. Planting, there's other things you can add in here, other shrubs. So you have to look through your components and look through your family library here. Railings would be something that's worth a look, depending on what you have on the outside. Some railings aren't bad. I wouldn't rely on railings as a major way of guiding traffic, mostly because those things get beat up. People jump on them, lay on them, swing on them. Kids are climbing on them. All those things. So other things to look at. There's another one. Sustainable design might have some interesting things in here as well that you can add in here. Recycle bins, trash bins, solar panels, mats, wind power. So wind, like a turbine, something to think about. So you have a lot of different ideas that you can work with, and you can also custom build some things as well. So no, it wasn't in here, but there was another place. Let me see if I can find it. So you can also use, different railings and supports and things that are other places, not just in the site folder. You can find other uses for balusters and things like that. So there's other uses you can find for these things, not just site items. So there's a lot more than just what you find in here. Although in here, you can find a planter that's already made. You can search up different items as well, using Revit City or BIM objects. You can also, I demoed this before, but I'll show again since I did not create a tutorial video with it. But if I wanted to edit this surface here, and I wanted to actually, let me X out of that. I want to create a split surface on this one. And I did this before. I did this the other day. It's about 3.5 inch. So it's about 7 feet in diameter. That's pretty big. So there's a 6 foot diameter circle here. And I'm going to split that region. And what I want to do is take that and make it into another material, make it into earth, say okay. Oh, I guess I did not apply it, sorry. Wasting valuable recording time here. Okay, there's the earth. All right, now I can take that earth and I can edit that surface, and notice that I can't just change the elevation of it over here. What I have to do is edit the surface of this point. I'm going to drag and select all of those points there and assign them to be 2 feet. Oops, but I wanted to do something else. Drag and select all of these, make it 2 feet. It's not liking that for some reason. Oh, sorry, elevation up here. Wrong place. There we go. Weird how it won't let you do it right there, but oh well. So I've got that, and now let's say I'm happy with that. Now I've got floating dirt, right? It's hollow underneath, but whatever, no one sees that anyways. So let's take something like a little wall and let's make it a masonry wall. Let's do a 12-inch masonry wall. And from this, I'm going to do this from above. It's easier to draw out a circle this way. And try to go to the middle of this. I can always adjust it later. Oops. And choose my circle option first. Go to the middle here and drag out a circle. Like something like this. Because what it's going to look like is, I can almost match it exactly. Right about there. And I'm going to click again right there. So now I've got a place where I've got like a little fire pit. Now this wall is, how tall did I make this wall? It is 3 feet tall, so that's about right. That'd be good. There's about a foot down is when you get to the dirt. If I wanted it shorter or higher, I could do that. I could take something, a planter, and put some plants in there. I could find something like fire logs and place them in there. And what I would do is look at some different sites. I know, for example, I can find fire logs and firewood with actual like working fire that you can place in this this area right here. And when you go to render it, it's actually going to render out the effects of light emitting from that fire, which is kind of cool. Revit doesn't have, much in the way of like patio furniture and umbrellas and things like that. There are some park benches, which looks good. But I know Revit City and BIM Objects would have things like that that you can work with. So let's see if I do a quick look here and look up different things like patio furniture in different patio objects, things like that might be interesting for outside. I see patio doors, for example, but I'm sure I can be a little bit more specific. There's lots of planters here, lots of benches. If I did like patio table or something, I'm not sure what's going to pop up. There's some small little side tables. These are like office things happening. That's weird. But I know you can find other objects, chairs. Oh, those are kind of office looking chairs. I'm gonna find like some like, there's some interesting looking patio furniture there. But anyways, you get the idea. When you're looking up things, you can find them pretty easily. And you can customize your space. Now, the whole idea behind this is to make it inviting, make it make sense for where it is and for what that building is being used for. give people a place to go to escape, while also kind of in a nice way directing people without putting up like barriers, right? So have fun with this and enjoy kind of customizing and designing your landscape features around your structure, around your site, and just kind of have fun with it. And see you next time.